Take a moment and breathe. Let these words land, not as noise, not as advice for someone else, but as something meant for you. Because there comes a point in every man's life when a quiet question begins to surface, one he rarely says out loud. Does she feel it too? Or am I reading into things that aren't really there? That question doesn't come from insecurity, it comes from awareness, from noticing the subtle shifts, the pauses, the moments that feel different, deeper, more charged than ordinary interaction. Most men ignore these moments or rush past them, trying to force clarity where patience is required. But the truth is, clarity doesn't arrive through confession, it arrives through behavior. Women rarely announce how they feel. They don't walk up and declare emotional attachment. Not because they're playing games, but because emotional safety matters more to them than emotional release. Before words ever appear, observation begins. She watches how you respond under pressure. She notices how you handle silence. She studies whether your presence feels steady or unpredictable. By the time a man starts questioning whether she feels something, she already knows. The real question isn't whether her emotions exist. It's whether you can recognize them without demanding proof. This is where most men fail. Not because they lack value, but because they're looking for loud signals in a language that speaks quietly. What you're about to hear isn't about guessing, chasing, or assuming. It's about understanding how emotional attachment actually reveals itself, long before a single word is spoken. Most men believe that if a woman feels something deeply enough, she'll eventually say it. That belief is understandable, but it's wrong. Women don't move toward emotional exposure the same way men do. For them, confession isn't a release, it's a risk. A woman doesn't ask herself, "Do I feel something?" She asks, "Is it safe to feel this?" And safety isn't proven through words. It's proven through consistency, emotional stability, and how a man carries himself when nothing is guaranteed. Before she ever opens her heart verbally, she needs to know one thing. Will this man hold steady if I let my guard down? That's why she observes first. She watches how you react when plans change, how you respond when she pulls back slightly, how you handle moments that don't go your way. These moments matter more than romantic gestures ever could. Confessing too early exposes her to rejection, imbalance, or misunderstanding. So instead, she allows her feelings to surface indirectly through tone, attention, vulnerability, and behavior. Not because she's manipulative, but because emotional intelligence tells her to protect what matters. By the time a man is waiting for a confession, the emotional decision has often already been made. The real test isn't whether she'll admit how she feels. It's whether you're perceptive enough to recognize what her actions have been revealing all along. One of the earliest and most overlooked signs of emotional comfort appears in a place most men never think to listen: her voice. Not what she says, but how she says it. At some point, often without realizing it herself, her tone begins to soften around you. This isn't flirtation, it isn't shyness, and it isn't an attempt to impress. A woman's voice softens when her nervous system relaxes, when she feels emotionally safe. When your presence allows her to lower her guard instead of keeping it up, notice the difference. Her voice may be firm and controlled around others, but calmer, warmer, and slower when she speaks to you. That shift happens unconsciously. It's her body responding before her mind catches up. You didn't ask for it, you didn't force it. You created an environment where she doesn't feel the need to protect herself. Women don't soften their tone for men they don't trust. They don't relax their emotional defenses around men who feel unpredictable or demanding. When her voice changes in your presence, it's a quiet signal saying, "I feel at ease here." And emotional ease is where attachment begins. Most men are taught to impress, say the right thing, do more, try harder, stand out. But impressing a woman and influencing her emotionally are two very different things. One creates a moment, the other creates a memory. Impressing is loud, it seeks validation, it hopes for approval. Emotional influence is quiet, it doesn't ask to be noticed, it's felt. A woman may admire a man's success, appearance, or status, but admiration alone doesn't anchor her heart. What anchors her is how she feels in his presence. Emotional influence shows up when she feels guided instead of pressured, when conversations feel natural instead of forced, when silence doesn't feel awkward but safe. You become memorable not because you tried to win her, but because she didn't feel the need to defend herself around you. This is where many men get confused. They believe effort equals value, but effort without emotional awareness often creates tension. Impact, on the other hand, creates calm, and calm creates connection. Women don't remember the clever lines or the gestures meant to impress.
They remember who made them feel seen without being judged, understood without being questioned, and comfortable without being controlled. That is the difference between a man she notices and a man she remembers.
When a woman becomes emotionally invested, her attention begins to narrow, quietly, naturally, without announcement. She doesn't make a show of it, and she may not even realize it's happening. But the shift is there if you know how to recognize it. She starts remembering small details you mentioned in passing, not because she's trying to impress you, but because your words register differently now. She notices subtle changes in your mood. She senses when your energy is off, even when you haven't said a thing. And instead of ignoring it, she asks questions, real ones, not surface level conversation. Her reactions to you also change. Things that would normally seem ordinary suddenly carry emotional weight, a message, a tone, a pause in conversation. She responds to these moments more deeply with you than with anyone else. This isn't curiosity, it's investment. A woman doesn't pay attention like this to every man in her life. Emotional attention is selective. When it begins to focus on you, it means her feelings are already organizing around your presence. She isn't watching you because she's unsure. She's watching because you matter. This is one of the clearest indicators that the connection has moved beyond casual interest and into something more personal, something emotional.
Many men believe attraction begins with the physical and deepens later through emotion. In reality, for most women, the process works in reverse. Emotional attachment forms first, and physical attraction grows as a response to it. When a woman feels emotionally connected, her behavior changes in subtle but meaningful ways. She laughs more easily around you, not because you're trying harder, but because she feels relaxed. She opens up just a little more than she does with others. She begins to value your opinion, not out of politeness, but because your perspective carries weight with her. You may also notice that she tries to understand you, especially during moments of silence. She doesn't rush to fill the space. She senses that there's more beneath the surface and feels drawn to it. This curiosity isn't about control, it's about connection. Physical attraction without emotional grounding fades quickly. Emotional attachment, on the other hand, creates depth. When a woman begins to feel connected to who you are, not just how you look or what you offer, attraction stops being situational and starts becoming personal. And once it becomes personal, it grows quietly but powerfully. This is where most men get it wrong. A woman's sudden hesitation, emotional fluctuation, or brief inconsistency is often mistaken for disinterest. In reality, it can be one of the strongest signs that her emotions are already involved. When a woman begins to feel more than she expected, fear enters the picture. Not fear of you, but fear of imbalance. Fear of wanting more than she's receiving. Fear of opening her heart before she knows whether you'll meet her there. That fear doesn't show up as clarity, it shows up as pause. You might notice her pull back slightly after moments of closeness. Her messages may become shorter for a while. Her energy may feel less certain. This isn't manipulation, it's self-protection. Her emotions are moving faster than her sense of safety, and she's trying to regain balance. Men often respond to this moment by chasing, over-explaining, or withdrawing completely. Both responses break the connection. What she's watching for now is something much deeper, your emotional stability. Can you remain calm without reassurance, present without pressure, consistent without demand? This is the moment where attachment either strengthens or collapses. If you hold steady, you show her that her feelings don't overwhelm you. And when a woman sees that, her fear begins to dissolve because emotional safety has just been proven.
Before a woman ever speaks about her feelings, her body often reveals them. Not in dramatic gestures, but in small, instinctive movements she doesn't consciously control. These are responses, not strategies. When she's emotionally comfortable with you, her body naturally orients in your direction. Her shoulders soften, her posture relaxes. Even when she's standing still, her feet often point toward you. These signals aren't deliberate, they're expressions of ease. Her body is simply responding to a presence it trusts. You may also notice that her energy seems more open around you. She leans in slightly when you speak. Her movements become lighter, less guarded. She doesn't create unnecessary distance. This isn't about attraction alone. It's about comfort. A woman can pretend interest. She can fake politeness, but she cannot fake relaxation. The body doesn't lie when the mind is still deciding. When her physical presence adapts around yours, it's because her nervous system feels safe in your space. And safety is the foundation of emotional attachment. Many men believe that if a woman reacts emotionally, especially during moments of disagreement, it means something is wrong. In truth, emotional reaction is often a sign that something matters deeply to her. Indifference is quiet. It doesn't argue. It doesn't question. It doesn't respond. A woman who feels nothing simply disengages. She doesn't invest energy where her emotions aren't involved. When a woman reacts to your words, your actions, or your absence, it's because she's affected, and being affected requires emotional attachment. This doesn't mean every reaction is healthy or perfectly expressed. It means she cares enough to feel something. Her emotions are engaged, and engagement is never neutral. When she expresses concern, frustration, or disappointment, she's revealing that the connection holds weight for her. Some men pull away at this stage, fearing conflict. Others try to suppress her emotions. Both approaches create distance. What she's actually seeking is reassurance through stability. She wants to know that emotional expression won't push you away. A woman doesn't invest emotionally where there is no future in her mind. Reaction, when understood correctly, isn't rejection, it's involvement. One of the clearest signs of emotional attachment is influence. Not control, not obedience, influence. A woman only allows influence from a man she respects, and respect grows where emotional connection already exists. You'll notice it in small ways. She listens when you speak, not just to respond, but to understand. She reflects on what you say later. She asks for your opinion before making certain decisions, even when she doesn't have to. Your perspective begins to matter to her. This doesn't mean she gives up her independence. It means she values your insight. She trusts your judgment. And trust is never given casually. A woman doesn't adjust her thinking or behavior for someone she sees as temporary. Influence emerges naturally when she feels safe, seen, and supported. It's not demanded, it's invited. When your words carry weight with her, it's because your presence has already earned credibility in her emotional world. Women don't take direction from men they don't respect, and they don't respect men they feel nothing for. When she allows your influence, it's a quiet confirmation that the connection has moved beyond interest into something deeper, something meaningful. There is a moment in every deepening connection when a woman stops presenting and starts revealing. This moment doesn't arrive loudly. It comes quietly, often unexpectedly, and it carries more meaning than any compliment or gesture ever could. This is the moment she becomes vulnerable. Vulnerability is not oversharing, it's not drama, and it's not weakness. Vulnerability is trust in its purest form. When a woman begins to share her fears, her past disappointments, her mistakes, or the parts of herself she usually keeps hidden, she's opening a door very few men are ever allowed to see behind. She does this carefully, gradually, and she watches closely how you respond. Not to judge you, but to determine whether her emotional world is safe in your hands. Will you listen without interrupting? Will you stay present without trying to fix her? Will you respect what she's trusted you with? Women do not expose their inner world to men they see as temporary. They protect their vulnerability fiercely. When she lowers that protection around you, it means her emotions have already placed you in a position of importance. This is one of the deepest signs of attachment, because once a woman feels safe enough to be real with you, her heart is already involved. What happens next depends on whether you can honor that trust. One of the most revealing signs of emotional attachment happens almost without her noticing. She begins to place you into her future, casually, naturally, without pressure. This is known as future linking, and it comes from the subconscious, not strategy. She might say things like, "Next time we should try this," or "You'd really enjoy this place." She imagines experiences, plans, or moments that include you, even if they're mentioned lightly and without commitment. These statements aren't promises, they're reflections. A woman doesn't imagine a future with a man she sees as temporary. The mind doesn't project forward unless the heart feels safe enough to do so. These small references are her emotions testing the idea of continuity, of you still being there. She isn't asking for reassurance, she's revealing attachment. When future moments begin to include you naturally in her language, it's a sign that her emotional world has already made space for your presence beyond the present moment. As emotional attachment deepens, something subtle but powerful begins to happen. Her emotional state starts responding to yours. This isn't imitation and it isn't dependence, it's synchronization. Her nervous system is beginning to align with yours. When you're stressed, she senses it, even if you don't explain it. When you're distant, she feels unsettled and wonders why. When you're excited, her energy lifts with yours. When you're calm, she relaxes more deeply. These reactions aren't choices, they're involuntary emotional responses. This level of emotional mirroring only happens when a woman feels genuinely connected. It means Your presence matters to her inner world. Your mood carries weight. Your emotional shifts register. Most men overlook this because it doesn't look dramatic, but it's one of the clearest signs that attachment has moved beyond interest into connection. Emotional alignment doesn't require constant communication, it requires emotional relevance. When a woman begins to feel you, not just notice you, her emotions respond instinctively. And once that synchronization forms, the bond becomes harder to break because it's no longer just mental, it's emotional. There is a level of attachment that goes beyond words, behavior, or even vulnerability. It reveals itself when a woman begins to take emotional risks, quietly, without announcement, and without expectation of return. You'll notice it in the way she gives. Not dramatically, not for attention, but sincerely. She puts in effort without pointing it out. She shows care in small, thoughtful ways. She becomes emotionally generous, offering support, understanding, and presence without keeping score. Emotional risk means she allows herself to care more openly. She worries about you without saying it. She feels affected by your absence. She tries harder during moments that matter, even when it would be easier not to. These behaviors come from trust, not obligation. A woman doesn't take emotional risks with someone she's unsure about. She protects her heart unless the connection feels meaningful. When she begins investing emotionally without guarantees, it's because her feelings have already crossed a threshold. This is the rarest sign because it's invisible unless you're paying attention. And it's powerful because once a woman allows herself to risk emotionally, she's already deeply attached, whether she's ready to admit it or not. By the time a woman feels deeply attached, many men assume the next step is obvious, that she'll eventually say the words, define the connection, or make her feelings clear. But this is where misunderstanding often replaces patience. A woman doesn't hold back because she's unsure of her feelings. She holds back because she's unsure of yours. Emotional honesty, for her, carries risk. Saying how she feels too soon could shift the balance, expose her heart, or place her in a position where she wants more than she's being offered. So instead of speaking, she watches. She observes consistency. She pays attention to how you show up when it's inconvenient. She notices whether your actions match your presence. Not perfection, but steadiness. She's not waiting for poetry or dramatic gestures. She's waiting for emotional reliability, for signs that you won't disappear when things deepen, that you won't pull away when she becomes real, that you can hold connection without needing control. When a woman delays confession, it's not hesitation, it's discernment. Her heart may already be involved, but she's protecting it until she knows it's safe. And that decision is shaped less by words than by who you are over time. If her actions have been speaking, she's already listening for your response. There is a quiet moment in every meaningful connection when a woman stops evaluating a man and starts feeling him. It doesn't arrive with dramatic gestures or spoken confessions, it arrives in subtle shifts, in how she softens, how she responds, how she adjusts her world around your presence. If she adapts to you emotionally, if she notices your silence, if she invests without asking for reassurance, if she becomes vulnerable, responsive, and consistent in small ways, her heart has already moved closer than she may ever say out loud, not because of what you promised, not because of what you offered, but because of how you made her feel when she was with you. A woman doesn't fall for the man who excites her temporarily. She falls for the man who makes her feel safe enough to be real, safe enough to care, safe enough to stay. Now think back for a moment. Which of these signs have you noticed before, but didn't fully understand at the time? Share your experience in the comments. And if this resonated with you, like the video, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear this today.